Hey everyone, today we're going to go over how to clean a Honda Carb. Now this is off of a horizontal, I believe it's a GCV 160. Yeah, GCV 160. As you can tell, it's pretty dirty on the outside, so we're going to want a relatively clean area. It doesn't have to be spotless. I just put a paper or a blue towel down for mainly filming purposes so you can see everything, but you do want it to be clean. You don't want it to be super dirty. As long as you don't get anything inside, it should be fine. Very first thing that I'm going to take like a wire brush. I'm going to try to get a lot of this dirt off, potentially even hit it with some air, and try to avoid contamination as much as possible. So it's kind of clean now. It's not really too bad. So there's going to be the way I'm going to clean, and then there's going to be the way that you can clean. It's very easy. You just need to go to an auto parts store, pick up a few supplies. So I'm going to go over pretty much any of them right now. I also have to say Honda makes a lot of different types of carbs. For instance, this one does not have a fuel shutoff on the side, just has an inlet for the fuel. This one has both an inlet and a fuel shutoff. These are almost the same. Almost. They look very, very similar. They mount differently. That's primarily the main difference. But the differences between the two are pretty minimal. I'm not going to clean this one. I'm going to clean this one, but I'll show you the differences. So if you do have this one, 90% of what I'm going to tell you is going to be the same. So very first thing, you want to take a screwdriver. I'm going to take out this screw. Put this somewhere safe. Now, this is the first difference. On this style, there is a plastic set screw. Just take that out, and underneath it is a plastic piece that actually has a jet in there. So you want to take that plastic piece, take a screwdriver, flathead, like so, and just gently pry up on it. If you need to, you could potentially even get a pair of pliers. Don't squeeze down. Mainly just want to get underneath the lip and then pry up. So once you get that piece out, clean it very thoroughly, and you are at the same spot that we are currently right now. So sometimes as well this will have a stop, but depending on your application. In addition to that, sometimes right here or on this style of carb right here, there is this adjustment. It's really, really hard to take this out. So what you end up having to do is, once we're all done, if you do have this adjustment, we're gonna cut it off so we can, this little tab right here, so we can get it rotating. It's the same tab on both of them. Not all of them will have it. This one is a fixed jet, so there's no adjustment. Now we just want to make it flush. This is aluminum, it's not going to spark, but the around it, or the actual metal underneath it, is steel, so that can spark. So we're not going to do that until we take all the fuel out and we've rinsed it thoroughly. But know that we also want to remove this. So now that that's taken care of, this little piece right here is the part that would usually hang you up on trying to rotate it to remove the screw. But we don't have one, so we don't have to worry. Next, you get 10 millimeter and remove the bowl. Cover your ears. At this point, fuel probably will be dripping out, so kind of catch it if you can. And if your bowl doesn't come off like mine, take the screwdriver handle, gently hit it. Unless your screwdriver handle is made of metal or some really hard type of composite, it's going to be fine. Just don't dent it. So there was some junk in there. That's normal. And that's the reason why we're doing this. If you did catch your fuel, you see what I'm seeing right there, that darker section, not the junk, but the what looks like oil, that's actually water. That could be pretty much the only reason why you would have to do this too. If you take this apart and you notice that there is almost no debris, but you do see that little puddle in there, then that is water, and that will stop you from running just as much as a dirty carb will. I have a hand towel around because it will become useful here shortly. So this is the hard part. You have to find a screwdriver that is not going to strip this out. So you want to get a smaller one. Inside here is a jet. Now, like I said, this is the same for both. Usually just a smaller one will cut it. Sometimes they're really stuck. A little penetrating oil. Let's take the float off. Just a little pin. And the needle is right there. Be careful. At this point, I could take an Allen key and down there is a emulsion tube. We want to press down on that. The whole thing comes out. Don't need this anymore. So when we clean this, there's a series of holes drilled in there. We want to make sure that we can see through them, so we're going to do that at a later point. This is majority of your problem right here. That little jet, that little hole is probably plugged. We're going to clean that. So that's pretty much a disassembly. Only real difference on this style is that you would also have this little bowl down here you would want to remove. There's a gasket, remove that, and that should be pretty much it. On top of here, there's two screws, this handle, as well as a circular piece of rubber. Just be aware of the orientation of it so you don't mess it up. Take a picture, but take it all off, should be fine. So now it's pretty much done. At this point, you can attempt to remove this bowl seal, but a lot of the times it is stuck in there, and it's not rubber. It's kind of like some type of, it could be rubbery, fibrous material. I'm not really sure, but if it's stuck in there, I wouldn't worry too much about it. So at this point in time, I'm assuming you do not have a cleaner, like an ultrasonic cleaner. So go to the store, grab brake cleaner, carb cleaner, doesn't really matter. What we're gonna do is you want to spray in here, but before you spray, I would definitely recommend putting on a pair of safety goggles. In fact, I'm just going to do that right now. And I'm not going to spray, I'm not going to do it right now. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be spraying through here, all around. I would try to avoid getting it on the bowl seal if you did not remove it. If you're going to be replacing it, just remove it anyway, if obviously. That should clean the majority of it. And here, the easiest way is to take like a wire from a wire brush. I just have one of these I like to use, makes it easy. Take like a little straggler, go through, it goes all the way through, blow through it. If you can see all the way through it, it's clean. I see nothing in any of these holes. Just beware, there are smaller versions down here you also need to clean. There's 1, 2, 1, 2. Now you take the same wire brush, go through the center of the main jet. You want to make sure it's smaller than the jet. You don't want to open it up any. We're not rejetting, we're just cleaning. We're not done with these. Okay, so at this point, you take your cleaner, clean the bowl out real nice. If it's super corroded, rust, you might have to take like a wire brush and clean it out. If it's really bad, you will want to test it, put up to the light and see if you can see any pinholes through it. That generally doesn't happen with Hondas, but it's always a possibility. So clean this out until it's clean. Spray in here and here, clean all around. You definitely want to spray in here. And when you spray, in fact, let's do it. Let's get my goggles on. That's why I don't usually do this, because I don't like using chemicals, but you want to put it through, there's a little hole in there. You want to put the spray directly in there and aim it away from your face. You just want to push the fluid through. Now, like I said, it can spray out in a lot of weird places. Trust me, you do not want this anywhere near your eye. At the worst case scenario, it's going to be burning for a while. The last case, you may not use your eye. So, go through everything. Now, on some carbs, this is one of them, it's really hard to see, but there are 3, 4 holes in there. What you're going to have to do is take a wire from your wire brush, bend it so you can kind of push it in there, and then clean out those 3 little holes. So once you do that, that part's done. This one's a little bit easier just because you kind of have a little bit more access, but sometimes they're pretty far in, and that can make it a little bit troublesome. But this style is a lot easier. This one does have 4. I think this has 3. After you're done with that, you're pretty much ready. I would spray the outside if you want, and kind of blow it off with your air compressor or towel it off or whatever you want to do. But you want to make sure it's dry when we're done. Now, if you don't want to use that method, you can go to the auto parts store and get like one of those gallon jugs of carburetor cleaner. Usually comes with like a little basket. You can put it in there for a couple hours. You don't really want to go too much longer than that, because it can be a little damaging to plastic and especially rubber. So on Honda Carbs, you don't really have to worry about that, but you can potentially start to degrade the plastic. As you can tell, the plastic runs all the way through, so if this were to break or get brittle and snap, that could be a big problem. But find any crevice you can. This one, even though it's mainly just a vent, and here you want to make sure that you spray in there. That's why the straw is nice. And there, like I said, here, anywhere there's a crevice, you want to spray and get that cleaned out. Now, if you do have an ultrasonic cleaner, you're done. What I like to do is I just either take the bowl it came with, put this in there. I don't usually do anything with the needle. In fact, let's talk about the needle. The needle on a Honda has a rubber tip on it. The seat on a Honda is solid. So because of that, you can spray the seat with Carb Cleaner. That's not a problem. The Carb Cleaner on a needle, however, can damage the tip and potentially even make it so it doesn't seal. It can swell and eventually break apart. So the needle, we want to just clean, make sure there's no debris on it, and that's pretty much all I do. Make sure it's just clean and debris free. I'm going to put it through the ultrasonic cleaner, so I'll be back. Now it is clean. reason why I like having the ultrasonic cleaner is I don't have to take off the gasket. If you do put this in a carb cleaner gallon, more likely than not you are going to have to replace the bowl seal, so you're going to want to buy a new kit. In the kit usually just comes a bowl seal and a this for the bowl nut. I might even have one. They usually just come in a little tiny package. I don't think I do. So majority of the time, however, you don't really have to. Now this is pretty clean, pretty happy with it. Even if you didn't use an ultrasonic cleaner or anything else, you want to take your air compressor and blow through all the passageways, put on a pretty high PSI, and blow through everything. And here, if you took the screw out for right here, if you have one on the other machine, if you took everything apart in here, blow that out thoroughly, go through the passages, everything. Make sure it's nice and dry, nice and clean. So just like I mentioned on this, that little black piece, there's a little jet in there. They have to do something very similar on this one. So just as important as it to clean that jet, it's also equally as important to clean out this one. That one's a little harder. You can take a the bristle from a wire brush and shove it down there. I prefer to use a micro drill bit set if you have one, which I'm going to use right now. If you don't, I would definitely recommend getting one, because if you think you're going to be cleaning a carb multiple times because of whatever reason, it's always good to have. And you don't want a big piece. I literally just take out the smallest one, which is about the same size. It's actually probably a little smaller than a wire from a wire brush. And we just want to find the little jet and push it through. We do not want to elongate it. Like this one is plugged for sure. In this case, I am going to use a little bit of carb cleaner to kind of help out. I'm still wearing goggles, by the way. If the carb cleaner just disappears like it did for me, there we go, now it's better. It probably means that you are okay. Just gonna clean that a little bit more. Now, just as before, I'm gonna take my air compressor, close your ears and eyes. Get that nice and clean. So that's done. If you did take out that little screw, make sure to twist it in first to count how many turns it was, and take it all the way out, push it all the way in, and then unscrew it how many turns. Pretty simple. So now that we have cleaned out all the little passageways, we potentially have replaced the bowl seal. It's now time to kind of look out for the rest of it. This is the side that's going to be mounting to the engine. While I'm not saying this side's unimportant, having this little piece here and there, if it's really hard to take off, isn't going to be the end of the world. That's really not going to cause a vacuum leak. What is going to cause a vacuum leak potentially is right here. So we want to get this surface very clean. As you can tell, there's a hole because this is a vented carb that goes up in here into the carb and allows it to go through. If you didn't, it'd be like holding your thumb on a straw. The fuel wouldn't have the ability to actually go into the engine. So if you're having a problem with it running and you cleaned it, very likely either you put the gasket on wrong and it's causing something to not allow it to vent. Same thing for right here. So now it's done. This emulsion tube, which is the same on both, there's that side with no hole, and there's this side with a hole. You want to put the side with no hole in first. Now, I put this through the ultrasonic cleaner, so I'm going to blow it out with air. And when you blow it out like this. Nozzle's loose. The reason why you do that is you don't want to be, for one, there's slots for the screwdriver, so you're not going to get a very good pressure. And two, if stuff is going to be jammed in there, it's going to go in there through that way, so if you're just going to put more air pressure, try to shove it through, it's just going to get jammed even more. So blow through here, push it out. At this point, if you really wanted to rejet it, you can. I'm not going to because I just don't feel like it's necessary. Rejetting, argumentably, is a good thing. One size up, in my opinion, is always good because these do like to be jetted lean to pretty much improve emissions, which if you really want to do some research, you will see that that's really not the case. Okay, we are almost done. So everything is clean, the jet is clean, the emulsion tube is clean, all the passageways are dry. The last piece that we're going to do is, I'm not probably going to need to do it, but I still like to do it. Just take a Q-tip, about half, make sure it's clean, and then attach it to your drill. At this point, you're going to look at the seat and see if you can see anything, if it's super corroded or had a hard time taking a needle out. I like to use that little hand soap that smells like orange, and it has like pumice or something in it that kind of gives it a little grit. I like to use that. Valve grinding compound, I've been told works good. I think that's a little bit too gritty in my opinion, but who knows. This is the Carb Cleaner. Since we don't really have too much of a problem, we just want a good cleaning, we're just going to put it in there and then shove it through. See, it looked clean too. Yet again, close your ears, headphone alert. We're going to dry it off. Because while Carb Cleaner is flammable, I don't really want to get it all over my hands and whatnot. The needle and the float. So we know the needle is good. The float looks pretty good too. I didn't really test it, but you can put the float in preferably gasoline if you have the ability to, or water, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure if you do use water, just make sure to dry it very thoroughly. So there's this little piece right here, it needs to latch in like so. Then you just kind of guide it in the hole. Yes, we all know what that. And put the pin back in. And at this point, if you have the other style of carb, you're going to want to put everything back together. Screws, the handle. The handle usually has this little piece on the top that's facing up. Sometimes they might be flat, but usually they have something for you to hold on to. Make sure it's facing the right direction. Put everything back the way it was. Put that back on, the seal back on, blow it out. You can do this next step. Make sure it is on, and then we're going to see if the needle and seat's working. How we're going to do that is we're going to blow in through here. In this position, I should not hear any air noise when I blow through there. And I can't. Now, if I wanted to flip it over, I should, a little dust, I should get a little air noise, or I just like to put my finger right there. And when I let go of the finger, or let go of the float with my finger, I instantly heard no more air noise. We are set. Now, this bowl has a drain, which is completely and totally useless, which is why some of them don't even have it. If you don't have it, skip this step. But you see the fuel inlet, the drain goes on the opposite side. The reason why is you can't really gain access to it because this side is usually blocked by something. The air cover, the little bracket for the on-off switch, whatever your machine has. This side, however, is usually open. So if you do want to use it, let's make sure the end is clean. It is not. So we're going to clean the end. Take a screwdriver, kind of take the crap off of it. There we go. And we put this back on, twist it so the vent or the drain is on the correct side. I don't have my socket over here, I just have the impact. I don't want to use the impact on this. So 10 millimeter, tighten it. Don't over tighten it because this is soft metal. Just make sure it's tight but not super tight. In addition, you can rip the seal and you'll be leaking fuel. So now we are almost done. At this point, if you have the little black piece, you're going to want to put that black piece back in. A lot of times, if you're having issues, putting a little oil on it will definitely assist. It's not going to hurt it. And then you just put in your idle set as well. Sometimes the idle set, let me put this in, I'll show you. I don't have one, but it's easy enough to explain. See, on this has a convenient ability to be used with any Phillips head screwdriver. Sometimes they don't want you to do anything. Mainly it's on Kohlers, but I have seen it on a Honda or two. They just put like this little half circle in there. Flathead screwdriver, whatever size barely fits in there, takes care of that problem. So we want to make sure that's tight. And if we did have that little adjustment screw, we want to make sure that's in there. We do not on this one, so we're set. We also don't have anything right there, so we're set. So now our surfaces are clean, the inside's clean, the jets are clean, all of our ports are cleaned out, and we should be ready to go. If this was super corroded, you would probably end up having to replace it, or you could do a full carb rebuild. Pretty much the only difference between this and a full carb rebuild is I didn't replace any of the seals or the gaskets because they were in good condition. If you buy the whole kit, you'll get everything, including the Welch plug. You're going to want to take that out, take like a punch, hit it in the center, usually concaves it so it can come out. Then you can clean, take a new Welch plug, do the same thing, get it pressed in there. But to be honest, 99% of the Honda Carbs that I clean, I never have to put any money into. The ones you have to put money into are different brands, but Hondas, you don't have to. As I said, there are many variations. This is a gold one, you can have silver, but they're all more or less the same. These can be different. That's not going to change your cleaning. The only thing that's really going to change the cleaning is if you have these styles, in which case you just have a little bit of extra cleaning to do, and the top is different. That's really about it. Don't really have to worry. It's a very simple carb. So why are you doing this? One, if you are noticing that is surging, cleaning it can definitely assist. If it is still surging, most of the time it's going to be this port or this jet in here. So let me explain. The emulsion tube that we put in through here and the main jet doesn't supply all the fuel. It supplies, not 100% sure, but let's for easy math purposes say 90%. This is for idling. Idling requires a lot less fuel than full throttle, so when it is idling, it doesn't use the main, it uses the idle. So even while in full throttle, you're going to start using the main, but you are always going to be using this passageway and this jet. If this is plugged, even though everyone says it's for idle, it's not going to give you the correct mixture. It's still going to have problems. This is kind of the bad part about Honda Carbs, because sometimes it's really hard to clean in here and get that blockage removed. The better ones, in my opinion, will have this screw, because then you have more access points to blow in there. A good shot of compressor air, plugging it, goes a long way when it comes down to cleaning out this passageway. I also never really run into that problem with this style, because the passageway on the jetting is actually in this black piece. This one can be a little troublesome. This is on the GCV series. The GX series, the carbs, like I just showed you, are definitely a lot more cleaning friendly. Okay, so that's how you clean. I'm going to put it on there so you can see that it's running, and then will be the end of this video. It's on there. Currently, this does not have a pump, so don't worry. And it has a cast iron flywheel, so it's fine. It's on. The switch is on. The choke is on. I have turned the fuel on, and I don't see or feel or smell any leaks, which is something you should wait on. Fuel's been on for about 3-4 minutes already. Bowl should be more than full, and I don't see any potential issues, so we should be ready to go. Because it's the first time starting, it might take a pull or two. These usually don't start in the first pull anyway, but just know the first time can be a little different than the next. And there you have it. So that's how you clean a Honda Carb. This is the same for the GCV 160s, 190s, GX 160s, 140s, 190s. I think all the way up to 270 or 210. I'm not really 100% sure on those. But for any of these styles, pressure washers, lawnmowers, plate compactors, it doesn't really matter. This is how you're going to clean the carb. So that's how you do that. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Definitely put a thumbs up if it helped you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if I would appreciate it if you also follow me on Instagram, smallengine101. See you in the next video. Have a good night.